Welcome back to another episode of the 100% podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy. And today I'm delighted to welcome a brand new guest to the show. I'm delighted to welcome Sophia Harris, who is a nutritionist and food relationship coach, who I know is going to have a lot to offer us today on the 100% podcast. Welcome to the show, Sophia.
Thank you so much for having me, mate. I'm buzzing to be here.
I am excited as well. I know that you're going to bring a lot of value. I've been admiring your work from afar for a long time, and I know that you don't mind hitting pretty contentious subjects bang on, like in the middle. And that's really good. I think people need that at this moment in time. Is that something that's always been pretty important to you with the food and food relationship side of things?
Yeah, I think so because so many people are confused and overwhelmed since there's so much shit. Oh, can I swear?
Yeah, yeah, please do.
There's so much shit out there in the fitness industry and on the internet. And I think there's quite a few of us now that are like, yeah, it's just not good enough.
Mm,
And I know that you spend time calling stuff out, and there's lots of people in my corner of the fitness industry that are like, yeah, these are the facts, ignore all of this stuff because it's so easy to see how people do get misled. And I was misled myself in the past for many years, and that resulted in eating disorders, disordered eating. So I know how bad it can be when people do get led astray by this stuff.
yeah, I think one thing that I find as well, my following isn't massive, right? But even though you know you are so right with your opinion, and I'm sure you get maybe you get this too, that because the messages from certain people, which I'm sure will get brought up on the podcast today, are so strong and their audiences are so large, that you're like, is this like am I really having to explain this? You almost feel like you're getting gaslit. Like why like if I say this out loud, then there's many people that like follow this person rather than me. It's such a bizarre scenario to even comprehend sometimes.
Yeah, it's so backwards, isn't it? That the
Yeah.
people who chat the most shit have the biggest platforms.
Yeah.
And also, as well, they are put in the spotlight. Like we've got Tim Spector, who's got a Channel 4 program at the moment. The Glucose Goddess has been on there. We all know about the Joe Wicks circus act with that weird protein bar
Mm.
that kills people, apparently, stunt that he pulled. So these people are mainstream, and that's what we've got to remember as coaches, that when clients are coming to us, this is the stuff that they're being shown as fitness and nutrition advice.
Yeah.
And I think the scary part is all of these charlatans, like the stuff that they spread, there's elements of truth in there.
Mm.
So they're very clever in how they do it because we know that you can find studies to back up anything. Like you can find studies that tell you a glass of red wine a day is good for health. And yeah, and I'm sure there's studies out there that show us that smoking in moderation is okay. I've not ever actually looked for that because actually, when you understand the truth and you know the science behind health, you know those two statements are completely incorrect. But if somebody wants to go and find evidence to back those things up, then they will.
Yeah, and I think it's like the argument of like not to bring politics into our discussion today, but just the argument that if you look hard enough for an argument to back up your point of view, then your algorithm's going to support that even more. So then you get more affirmation that what you're thinking and believing is absolutely right, and then you get so far down the rabbit hole that there's no pulling you back out to see the other side of the fence. And I think that that happens with all of these admirers, fans, followers of these people like Eddie Abu, Joe Wicks, Glucose Goddess, as you've already mentioned, is that they get so far into the loophole of what they're talking about that it just becomes almost factual.
I've totally forgotten about Eddie. I've not gone to see what he's been doing for a while, but what the like, whoa, like that. It's madness, right? But again, this is all stuff I used to believe myself 15, 20 years ago. So me saying it's bullshit, it's rubbish, they chat shit, I'm not then judging anybody who believes them because they are so confident, they are so sure of themselves. And I just wish evidence-based coaches had that level of confidence.
Mm.
Because I mentor quite a few coaches one to one now, and I speak to so many of them who are like, you know how you said before, I've not got a huge audience.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you've got over, I can't remember, but over 1,000 people who are listening to what you say. Imagine 1,000 people in a room. That's so many people. And like one of my coaches who's just started, she's got 100 followers. And I'm like, 100 people that you need to spread your knowledge and, help and support with all of that they'll potentially see if you don't. So I think that's a really good way for coaches to think about it when they're worrying that they aren't going to be able to compete with these huge names out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, I don't mean to, I think like when you have it heard back what you've said, it's one of those things, isn't it? That there is a lot of people. And actually, if one of them has been fed a Eddie Abu video or whatever, and I can then caveat that with a factual point that they go, oh, actually, shit, like this guy's not making any sense, and Harry is, then obviously I'd have done my job. And it's the reason why I invite people like yourself as well, Sophia, on the show because it's important that like the message of truth and science essentially gets put out there rather than the nonsense or the faux science that maybe that there is. I I'm gonna admit I wrote down my number one question for you today, and this. I always find with coaches who are as passionate as you and us that there is a huge journey behind the scenes of becoming where you are right now. What's yours?
Oh, what a question. I'll be honest, mate, I'm still on the journey. I think like none of us are ever the finished product. And we're all doing the best we can from where we are, right? I genuinely believe that. Even about these bellends that we've been chatting about, I think they're doing their best with what they've got.
Mm,
Just what they've got isn't good enough. But anyway, so my journey, I was diagnosed with anorexia when I was 14. And that then developed into binge eating, bulimia, various mental health issues. And I struggled then with binge drinking for a very long time and tried to, at the time, and I had a great time, like, don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fun with friends, but I was just trying to numb all of the thoughts and feelings about how much I hated my body and how much I struggled with food. Um, and it's crazy because the whole time I was struggling with eating disorders, my weight fluctuated. Like, I'm not going to give numbers and figures because I think one thing that's very important for listeners to understand is that 96% of people who have an eating disorder are in a healthy size body or a larger body. So, there's only 6% of people with an eating disorder that are underweight. Yet when
right.
we talk about eating disorders, everybody just thinks of somebody who's anorexic and they feel sorry for them. But then there's a lot of judgment and shame that comes when people are in larger bodies. But my body weight fluctuated from very, very underweight to at my largest, I was like a size 18 to 20, which I know in the grand scheme of things isn't huge, but substantially bigger than I am now. Um, and the whole way throughout that journey, when my weight was really low and when my weight was much higher, I hated every single part of myself. I wasn't happier when I was smaller. I wasn't then unhappy when I was bigger because I was bigger. It was because of how I felt about food, the struggles I had with food, the fact that I couldn't just relax and eat a fucking sandwich.
Hmm.
Like, I was at the worst with anorexia, I was scared to eat an apple. And then on the flip side, when I struggled with binge eating, I would hoard food and binge on thousands of calories and then make myself vomit. So, of course, that's a very extreme example of how bad issues with food can be. But I then had years and years of therapy, and really it was my friends who saved me. We lived together for a period of time, and I just saw how normal people ate and sat around a table and made meals together because I didn't have that growing up. My parents both have pretty severe mental health issues that obviously did contribute to me developing food issues. Um, so yeah, living with my friends and them cooking a pasta bake and being like, "Do you want some?" And then I was like, "Okay." And it was scary at first, but they didn't pressurize me, and I'd eat this pasta bake, and I was like, "Ah, I didn't wake up fat. Like nothing bad happened. I actually chatted to them about my day, and it was fine." So slowly but surely, alongside therapy, I started just eating more normally. Everyone tells me they want to eat normally, and I'm always like, yeah, what does normal even mean? But, I started eating more of a balanced diet. I got into weightlifting years ago, actually, but started taking it more seriously. And that almost then became an obsession in itself. So I'd recovered from eating disorders, but at that point still had very disordered eating and was obsessed with exercise and being like the fittest and the leanest and the strongest. And that was glamorized. I'd have people saying to me, "Oh my God, you've got abs all year round. What do you do?" And I was thinking, well, I track every calorie. Most meals I eat are out of Tupperware and I do an hour on the Stairmaster every day. Like, you then almost feel trapped
Mm.
in having to maintain that physique that you're known for. But through that, I started studying nutrition because everybody was asking me to write the meal plans and training programs. And that was when I started learning about the science behind food. And I was like, fuck, what have I been doing to my body for all these years? And I was filled with like an immense gratitude that I was alive, if I'm being honest. Um, and I started understanding what my body needed and why. And the education side of things, alongside living with my friends, allowed me to reduce a lot of the fear I had around food, realizing that I can have a little bit of cake and everything's fine, like nothing bad happens. And the more I built up that trust within myself, the more I improved my own food relationship. So when I qualified as a nutritionist, I realized that people can get all the food plans and protein targets they need from, well, definitely from AI now, but it was just Google back then.
Mm.
Um, but it was the reasons why they couldn't stick to a food plan or a calorie target. It was the reasons why people felt the need to go and binge on a weekend or to then start restricting because they thought it would make them a better human and happier. That was what people needed help with. So that was what I built my business around. We very much support clients with the science behind food and what they need to eat and why they need to eat it. But then we also delve into the food behavior side of things. And pretty much everything we do and all our tools and everything we use is stuff that I used myself for many, many years.
Yeah, incredible story. Thank you for sharing that with us today. In terms of, you mentioned that when you started to study nutrition, there was the science that kind of glared you in the face and was like, holy shit, I've been doing things probably not the most optimal for throughout, even when you were at your leanest, your strongest, your fittest, as you alluded to. What were the things that really stood out to you that you'd got really wrong and that you needed to change?
So I think I was taking the optimal stuff as gospel.
Mm.
So things like I used to monitor my blood sugars 12 years ago before it was the cool thing, before the Zoe diet was around. Like, I used to think that if I had low fasted blood sugars in the morning, and I monitored them after meals and my glucose levels were coming down in good time, that would have some sort of better overall result with how strong I was and how much muscle mass I built. Now, there's things like that. And I mean, that's honestly, when I see people that aren't diabetic wearing glucose monitors, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get in the real world. And again, that's it's funny because there's two sides to me. There's an extremely soft and compassionate side, but then there's also you wasting your time.
Mm.
Um, I'm always non-judgmental because, like I said, been there, done that. But I would take the optimal stuff too far. So, you know how everybody's obsessed with biohacking and cortisol and inflammation and gut health? I'm like, yeah, that was me with all of this stuff like years and years ago, thinking that it would make a difference and it doesn't.
Mm.
Like, genuinely, there might be a time and a place for some of these things for athletes or for very wealthy people that have got the time and resources. I didn't have the time and resources. God, if I had all of the money I'd spent on supplements and equipment and tests, honestly, I would have a fortune saved. So it makes no difference for the average person. And actually, when I was able to move away from those sorts of things, like apple cider vinegar, which literally does fuck all, fat burners, like honestly, every supplement you can get your hands on, I've tried. Every superfood, which we now know is not a real thing, it's a marketing term. Like I did everything, all the fads, the teas that make you shit yourself, like all of that stuff. Like it makes no difference. And actually, I'm fitter, healthier, and I have a better body composition now that I've got plans tomorrow to go out for brunch and I have milk in my coffee. I never used to do that because I'd be like, oh, it's wasted calories. And now that I do have all of that balance and moderation in my life, of course I eat well 90% of the time, but now that I have that freedom, I'm in better shape physically and mentally than ever.
Yeah, and without saying it is, but that mental health element that comes alongside having a better relationship with food probably outweighs the obviously it's really good to look good, right? Like everyone knows that. But when you've got that confidence alongside that looking good that has positive brain patterns around how you think about food when you wake up. I know I've seen a couple of your posts that mention that it's the worst thing in the world that when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you think about is how you're going to eat, what you're going to eat, and all of those kind of food
Mm.
stories that go on in your head. That mental health perspective and positive change that you've had is probably the best one without putting words in your mouth. Am I right?
100%. The mental and emotional peace and calm that I have now is unmatched. And like that's what actually allows me to have the brain capacity and energy to show up for my businesses. Because when you are consumed with food noise and fear around food, there isn't the space for anything else. You're not present when you're with the people that you care about. You're just existing. You're not really living. But
Yeah.
also, I think there's not many food relationship coaches that say you can have a great relationship with food and a body where you're comfortable and confident as well. Like when I talk about food relationship, a lot of people think that means letting go of body compositions, and it means letting go of validating yourself on your physical appearance.
Mm.
It means that accepting your weight and body size and shape will change throughout life. Like I gained a few pounds over Christmas. I couldn't tell you how many. It's probably settled down by now. I've just got other shit going on in my life that it's just irrelevant. It's like normal life fluctuations. Um, and you can be in great shape while not basing your worth as a human on what the scales tell you.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I have one little story to tell you on the biohacking stuff. So over for about a year, I had a rotator cuff injury, and I have to admit, I was so close to getting the stuff for peptides to try and force it to heal a little quicker. The change in mindset that I had, I was like, right, I'm gonna just pay for somebody that I know that's coaches GB powerlifters. They've definitely dealt with this injury before, blah blah blah. And just I know it cost me a little bit more money. It was a financial investment in trying to get fit from an injury rather than just using a physio or massage therapist. And 6 months later, or sorry, maybe 3 to 4 months later, after doing the same exercises for like every session that I'd go in, real niche stuff that would specifically work on the strength in my shoulder joint and different like smaller muscles around it. I'm now this week managed to push press with the barbell and incline chest press with dumbbells for the first time in over a year without any pain. And
That's cool.
yeah, it's really cool because I was so close to diving into that, like like the Joe Rogan conversations around peptides and all of the things that you can inject into and speed the recovery and all of these. And I was this close to investing in it, but actually, when it comes round to it, and I'm sure like in some form of crossover to what we're speaking about today, the hard work that you've put in with your food relationship and your body image was worth it in the end, like just by doing it the hard way, and the same with your clients as well. And then obviously that little kind of side story just kind of crosses over quite nicely to that. And there's
You
so
know,
many got yeah, I was
so
just gonna say there's so many biohacks and many different things that you can try to just get a couple percent back, but actually, when it comes down to it, it's about the basics normally.
It is. But what's really interesting about peptides, I would never give advice, like it's outside of scope for coaches to be recommending a lot of stuff that we see probably. Well, then again, it's hard to know, right? You see bodybuilding coaches prescribing steroids, and I'm like, hmm, what medical degree did you do and what testing are you doing with your clients to know that's okay? But anyway, it is what it is. It's a
Mm.
different part of the industry to us, right? But I think sometimes these things can give that extra 2%.
Mm.
And if somebody's nailing everything else, like everything, they've got the basics of nutrition, they're eating regularly, they're sleeping, they are managing stress levels. They are mobile in ways that can support injury recovery. Then look at peptides and do your own research if that's what you want to do and you've got the funds available. But the amount of new clients that inquire with me who are spending money on greens powders, collagen, oh God, what else? Just shit. And when we actually add it up, I'm not one of these coaches, by the way, that's like, cancel your Netflix subscription and pay me. I hate that as a marketing technique.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Tell you've worked
but
with Dan, by the way.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like when did coaches in the right start going through their clients' bank statements? It's just weird. Um, but anyway, like, but when we add stuff like that up, people have been led astray by somebody that's come out of Love Island and then is pushing a discount code for a greens powder, and they aren't eating regular meals. They're not getting enough protein in. They have no variety in the plant-based foods they eat. So I'm like, this is where we start. And then if we get you consistent with all of that stuff, of course, and you've got the capacity and the disposable income, we can look and see if any of these other bits would be helpful. So I think that's important for people to understand that, we're not saying all of this stuff is useless. But if you look at the information out there from the people we've mentioned, it's coming from a very privileged place of people that probably are nailing the basics.
Mm.
And then if on top of that, they want to monitor their glucose levels, cool.
Yeah, amazing. In terms of the lessons that people can take away from today's episode, then, Sophia, there's, I know that obviously you've experienced it. I know that I've experienced it. I think there eventually, when you become self-aware, maybe that'd be the right word. There are things that you can notice within yourself, like the language around food, like the worries in the morning. If you know that you've got maybe a meal that may be off plan, or like you've mentioned, your flatmates making a pasta bake, and if you're thinking about those kind of things, that's the inner talk that people should take notice of, right? If you are worrying in some senses about those kind of things. What else though can people kind of notice and be aware of within themselves around food, just to be, I guess, mindful around how their relationship with food is going?
I think what you said there, if people are overthinking things and they are starting to worry about what they're eating, and there's a big difference, right, between worrying about what you're eating from a health perspective and then taking small steps to improve that, and then judging and shaming yourself and fearing food.
Mm.
So I think actually as a society, we need a little bit, not maybe not worry, but more intention with our food choices. Um, but if that is escalating and consuming your mind, so you know how you were saying before about worrying about food first thing in the morning, not allowing yourself to go to social occasions, like thinking that eating certain foods will have a negative impact or an overly positive impact on health. It's your diet overall that's the most important thing. And I will die by the statement that life is too short to not enjoy coffee and cake. So if
Yeah.
you can't have a bit of that in there, then like what is the point? Obviously, athletes take advice from your coach, not me. That's fine. But for everyday people,
Oh, sorry, I have a real shallow based question. If you could only have one, coffee or cake, what would it be?
or what if I had to pick between coffee
Oh,
or
yeah, I'm just putting it out there.
Oh, mate, I thought you were gonna ask me my favorite cake.
We can ask that next if you like.
I think I genuinely think this breaks my heart, but I think I'd have to pick coffee.
Same as me, yeah.
Could
Yeah.
I still have cookies?
Yeah, you can have I
Oh,
can
coffee
yeah.
all day.
Coffee, yeah, no. Oh, go on then, favorite cake just before we switch back to the actual conversation. Yeah.
Well, I say cake, but I mean bakes.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is how I'm going to get round your question. I'm not actually that asked for cake unless
Okay.
it's. Have you seen Get Baked?
No.
You need to jot that down and go and check them out because they were a small business and now they're huge, but they started in Leeds, just round the corner from me, and they do. I think it's a 12-layer chocolate cake that's just full of ganache and goo, and it.
Yeah.
Get on it, mate. Get on it.
I'm gonna have to have a look at that. Amazing.
But yeah, my favorite cake or bakes, it would be like cookie pie.
Oof. Yeah, nice. To be fair, I think I would stick with cake because sticky toffee pudding falls in that category, if you ask me, and chocolate fudge cake as well. And those two are in my goat
Well,
era.
if you like them, Get Baked, do a sticky toffee pudding, and they do a chocolate fudge cake
Oh,
that you can get delivered. Oh, honestly, their stuff is 10 out of 10.
that'd be the like pinnacle for a post half marathon training run. That would be.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. So back to the real conversations today. Obviously, we're talking about food, but in maybe given some more insight. Two of your big topics that you dive in a lot on are obviously relationship with food, but body image as well.
Hmm.
Why, maybe this is more of an opinion-based answer than scientific one. Why do you think that there's such a crossover between the two things? Why is it so common that somebody with a poor relationship with food will end up with or have a bad body image about themselves as well?
So it is probably opinion, but also we see this in most of the clients we work with, and we do have research that backs this up, right? If somebody has a poor relationship with food, they probably also have a poor body image. They struggle with how they perceive themselves. They worry about what others will think about what they look like. They've got low self-confidence. Maybe they are basing their worth and happiness on a certain body type. And the reason that's often the case is because people directly correlate the food they do or don't eat with the size of their body. And there's no denying there's links, right? I am an evidence-based nutritionist. I understand energy balance, calories in, calories out. But also, have you ever seen the obesity systems map?
No, should I? I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's anybody listening, just go onto Google, pop it in, and look at the picture that comes up. So the picture that comes up is all of the different things that can impact the shape and size of somebody's body. So the obesity systems map is something the government have had access to since 2011, which is why it baffles me the shit they come out with to tackle obesity, like calories on menus. But it's got all the different areas and factors that influence somebody's body weight. So it is linked to obesity, but I would rather we looked at it from a health perspective
Mm.
and thought about these are the potential barriers in the way of somebody improving their health. So food, calories, energy in, energy out. When people look at the obesity systems map, there's about 400 different points on it, and energy balance is one. So this is not me disputing that the food we eat has an impact on the shape and size of our body, but it's not that simple and straightforward. Um, and again, when people struggle with their body image, they are probably telling themselves, well, if I control the food that goes in my mouth, I can achieve the body of my dreams. But then the fitness industry, unfortunately, can reinforce that message at times
Mm.
when we've got coaches running 6 week shreds to win a cash prize and then everyone does a photo shoot at the end. Or, I've got nothing against fat loss coaches. We support some of our clients with fat loss. I've actually got nothing against coaches doing photo shoots with their clients if that's what they want to do. But it's that messaging that your worth and value as a human, your happiness is at the end of a calorie deficit. Because what we often find in people who struggle with their body image, they've been in the smaller body or they've been in a more muscular body, but they still weren't happy at that point. And body image is how we see ourselves and view ourselves rather than our physical body. And day to day, some of our clients, when they start with us, they wake up one morning feeling all right, and then they wake up the next day feeling like a fat, useless piece of shit. And your body doesn't change that quickly. And even if it did, you aren't a fat, useless piece of shit.
Yeah, right.
But people who struggle with their body image have worse health outcomes. So often, people have gone on a health and fitness journey and they've wanted to improve their body composition, which is fine. And then somewhere along the way, they have got swept up in that success with health and fitness is looking a certain way. And then body image worsens. We actually see this on a lot of the studies that we have. When people get to a certain point with body composition, they are focusing more on their physical appearance. They may be weighing themselves daily, checking for abs in the mirror, or they're comparing their body to a previous body or other people's bodies. So they're body checking more. So that heightens their perception of their physical appearance and they start finding more problems.
Yeah.
Like I last dieted, it was either 3 or 4 years ago, I can't remember, and I remember looking at a little bit of fat on my hip and thinking, oh, I wonder if that'll go. Well, that bit of fat had never been a problem before. And I'd done all my studying and had a great relationship with food and a great body image, but that still was a thought in my head. So, if people aren't starting from a healthy place with food and a healthy place with their body, then it can be a very slippery slope.
I agree like entirely, which is a shame because sometimes good podcasts get some disagreements or like differences of opinion in them sometimes, but I agree wholeheartedly. And one of the things that I did a shoot last year, but it was a shoot alongside training for a ultra marathon as well. So
That's cool.
I never knew that I would like I knew that I was never gonna get like completely shredded, and neither would that ever be what my intention would be. And the coach that I worked with, the aesthetics coach that I worked with at the time, knew that as well, and they knew that there was going to be a different kettle of fish for them. But even though I didn't get like, six pack lean, I did get leaner. And I was just scrolling through my phone photo album the other day and I just saw one of the one of the check-in photos that we did. And I was like, I looked at it and I was like, huh, God, you look lean in that. And then from where I am, like after Christmas, I've been to Thailand, all of those kind of things. I was like, oh shit, like I literally I got caught into that comparison trap pretty quickly. But then I'm really fortunate as well. As where I'm going with the point. I've built a lot of my own fitness and health journey all the way through from being 23 stone to where I'm at now, and like handling my own issues with body image and mental health. That I've based a lot of my journey, or all of my journey, in fact, around performance. Even if I've not been at the leanest I could ever have got to for an aesthetic shoot or for a photo shoot, I ran 54 kilometers. You know what I mean? And
That's sick.
yeah, yeah. And that is where, like, if I was to come at it from my angle as well, that when we have this, if there is a poor relationship with food or poor body image that we may have around ourselves, if we can attach it, and if you like your fitness and if you like the gym, if you can attach it to some sort of performance element and strength element rather than just how you look, can you see your abs, the bit of fat on your hip, and what you're worrying about to eat. If you can go, well, actually, like 6 weeks ago, I couldn't lift the 20 kg dumbbells, but now I can. Or 6 weeks ago, I couldn't do a 10K, but now I can run 10K without stopping. Those things boost your confidence regardless of where your relationship with food is at and your body image is at as well.
Yeah, you're right. What you're describing there is body functionality. So it's thinking about all of the things your body can do alongside the life your body allows you to live. Like, honestly, nowadays, when I'm traveling with work, I always just try and fit everything in a rucksack, whether I'm going for 1 day or like five. And I'll be like running around London with a rucksack on my back. And I'm like, this is so fucking cool. Like, my body lets me do that. I've got loads of shit in this rucksack. I'm probably carrying like 3 bags as well. but my body's allowing me to do that and to walk around and explore. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean you don't have I was going to say it doesn't mean you don't have bad body image days. I don't have bad body image days now because I've just got too much respect for my body. It doesn't mean I love what I look like all the time, but I like what I look like most of the time, and that's
Yeah,
cool.
so yeah.
So, what you were saying about your photo shoot, there's nothing wrong. If anybody listening to this is like, oh, I was going to do one for aesthetic reasons, absolutely fine. Like, I've done photo shoots for aesthetic reasons, not recently, but would I do one in the future? Like maybe I'm not, if I wasn't comfortable in my body, I would diet. There's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't change who you are and what you offer the world just because you've lost a few pounds and look a bit tighter on some photo shoot images.
Yeah, it's so true. In terms of the practical advice then, so somebody's listening to this, so like Harry, Sophia, you're making loads of sense. What are the basics that I can do to look after my relationship with food? What are the things that I can practically practice on a day-to-day basis when it comes to eating healthier and more, what would be the word?
Balanced.
Balanced. Yeah, let's go with balance. Yeah. What would be the things that you would say, like that you would offer to your people that are in your program?
So when we talk about balance, loads of people think, oh, last time I tried balance, I lost control. And I always say that's because you didn't try balance my way. So, balance my way is the majority of your food coming from nutritious whole foods, which there's loads of different issues that can impact people's accessibility. But let's just pretend for the simplicity of the podcast, there's no barriers, right? So, nutritious whole foods with a sprinkle of fun. So, most of the time, we parent our food choices. We feed ourselves in the way that we would feed somebody we love. And then we allow ourselves to just relax and have a side of chips or a bit of dessert a couple of times a week. Any more than that, and it can be a slippery slope from a health perspective, especially with how accessible processed food, indulgent food is these days, and how often we socialize. Like we've got to take into account our food environment and how often we eat out. Like, how old are you?
33.
Hey, you look younger than
Oh, thank you. That's so nice. I'll
that.
take that. Yeah, cheers.
So we're from like the same generation. I'm 37, and like when I was a kid, you went to eat out once every 6 weeks. It was a treat. It was a special occasion. It wasn't every weekend or every time somebody
Yeah, it's
smashed
so
a
true.
target at work or, everywhere we turn, there's cake. And I love it. And it's great if you've got a healthy food relationship, but it's not so great if you don't. Because it's just as much saying no, it is saying yes. That's what people have to realize as well. But to answer your question, the number one tip I can give listeners is imagine the person you love most in the world, your partner, your child, a friend, a family member, your pets, if it's animals that you prefer, and imagine that person is dependent on you to feed them for the rest of their life. How would you do it? What
Yes.
would that look like? How would
Amazing.
you prepare their meals? Like what snacks would you tell them if you've eaten a piece of chocolate, you're a fat piece of shit? No, you wouldn't. Would you say to them, oh, it's Monday, you overate this weekend and you overindulged, so you're only going to have boiled chicken and lettuce for your lunch? No, you wouldn't do that. But we treat ourselves like crap because we don't think it's the same for us as it is everyone else. It's that whole, I know what to do, but I just struggle to do it. So write out a meal plan for how you would feed the person you love most in the world. Get the person you love most in the world involved. Like they'll probably be buzzing that you're going to cook their meals for them, um, and do it together. And you've got to treat yourself with that care, kindness, and respect before you feel worthy. Like you're not going to feel worthy when you are starving yourself and then binge eating. So you have to show up in the ways that you would if you weren't struggling with food before you can take a step back and think, oh, I feel more energized. My brain is functioning properly. I feel healthier. I feel happier. Maybe your body composition's improving as well. But you've got to feel it to then have that motivation to continue. So, how would you feed the person you love most in the world and then do that for yourself?
Yeah, I love that. What's interesting is I have philosophy for, I call it the 5/5 of 100%. And one of those 5/5 of 100% is I have you treated yourself like a friend or a family member today. So
Oh,
yeah, it's a nice little crossover. Um, One thing you said that's interesting there before I go into the 100% questions to end the show is that you said around, this is more of a niche question, maybe for my benefit, and I'm sure some listeners as well. Whole foods, preparing whole foods. One of the biggest influences on the food industry right now, in my opinion, is the ability to buy, and this is maybe a little bit Joe Wixy, to buy products with high protein, like your my protein chocolate caramel mousses, your grenade bars, your cereals that actually some of them are garbage, like the fuel protein cereal, but there are some that actually do have some good protein content in them if you're somebody that is after a protein target and it's contributing towards your balanced diet. Where are you at with them? Are they good in moderation or are they something you should avoid and we should be looking at those whole food elements?
do you mean like occasionally having a protein bar?
I mean, using that on a daily basis to assist your protein target.
So this is something I've actually changed my stance on a little bit. Um, because I think with our food environment, we have to, right? We have to change our stance. So go back 10 years, I'd have been like, yeah, protein bar a day is fine.
Mm,
But now people eat ultra processed food for some people for nearly every meal.
mm,
And if you have the facilities and the access and I mean, protein bars are expensive, but if you're able to reduce your ultra processed food consumption, then you should.
mm,
So back in the day when, 3 square meals a day were cooked from scratch, have a protein bar. That's fine. But now that people are using more and more ultra processed food as part of their meals, that's when we have to think, can I swap my protein bar for something more nutritious? I was going to say a yogurt and this is where all processed foods aren't created equal, right? Um, but yeah, so like some fruit and yogurt, which is fine. It's less processed than an ultra processed protein bar. Wow, it's less processed than a
mm.
protein bar, but we don't need to be scared that a protein bar is going to kill us. I will never let Joe Wicks live that one down because it's just wild that that even came out of his mouth.
Scary, actually. Yeah, and it's scary because it was put on such a massive platform. It wasn't like he did a social media post and it went viral. It was he did a social media post about a documentary that was being released on Channel 4. It's fucking crazy, in fact.
Yeah, it's wild. And then I've got to think about some of my clients who travel more, maybe they're neurodivergent. So cooking foods from scratch can be an issue. Maybe they're disabled, they're recovering from disordered eating. And if then a protein bar is a safe, accessible option, absolutely fine. We've got to look at this stuff on an individual basis, but most of us need to be trying to reduce our ultra processed food consumption. And I think a lot of our eating is habitual as well. So, like I have a protein bar every day for a snack. Why?
Mm,
Like, if you are getting enough protein in your meals, which most of us should be able to do that, if I'm being honest, then you can have something less processed as a snack. You don't have to spend £2.50. I mean, that's quite cheap for a glorified chocolate bar these days. Um, but you don't have to spend that much on a snack. You can get loads of fruit for the same price. But that's where all the conflicting information is difficult because people then think there's too much sugar in fruit. So then people think, is a protein bar a better option? And look, I love a protein bar. Like an Oreo grenade is banging, but would I eat one every day? No.
great point. Have you tried the cream egg one?
I'm disappointed with it, mate.
Oh, were you? I enjoyed it. I can't lie, yeah. But
It's
my favorite's the white chocolate grenade. It just hits like it slaps every time. Yeah, it's so good.
Have you tried those? Is it Bear Bells or Barbells
Yeah,
one?
I've gone through this collection. Yeah.
They're the best
You
ones.
think? Have you had the banana one? Do you like that?
Loads of people love that one. I just like
Yes.
the caramel one.
Oh yeah, fair one. All right, so wrapping things up, we've got three questions to link into the 100% element of this show. What does feeling 100% mean to Sophia Harris?
What for me personally or for
Yeah,
my clients?
for you personally, yeah.
So, how do I feel 100%?
Yeah,
Honestly, this might sound cheesy, but just what I get to do every day.
unreal.
Like, I started with a new mentor recently and he's great. And on one of the questions on the startup form, it was like, what would your, that ideal day activity? I
Yeah, yeah.
was like, just what I do now. And that made me emotional because I was like, fucking hell, I've gone from being hospitalized with anorexia and thinking my life wasn't worth living to every day being like, oh my God, I get to help so many people and be so healthy and happy myself. Look, it's not all sunshine and rainbows,
Mm.
but like my car insurance renewal just came through and I nearly, passed out. No, we all have life problems, right? But my 100% is just my day to day with more coffee and cake at times, maybe.
Unreal. Um, and what are the habits that make you feel 100%? So take away the work side of things. So if you think about like you at your happiest, your healthiest, what are the habits that you do on a day-to-day basis that make you feel 100%?
Every day I get outside, regardless of the weather, like I walk loads. And I swear that helps massively from a self-regulation perspective and from staying calm and just being able to be present at times as well. I go to the gym pretty much every day. I don't do weights every day. I do cardio as well. So just keeping that in there, keeping that in my routine, eating something throughout the day regularly. So, if I don't have the time to make a fresh meal from scratch, then a snack that's more processed occasionally is fine. So regular eating is another one for me. Coming off my phone before bed. If any of my clients are listening to this, they'll be like, oh fuck yeah, I need to do that too. And you guys do. Um, but yeah, no phone for like 2 hours before bed.
Tell you
Um,
what is I think scary about that. So I've trialed leave so in my bedroom outside of it is my washing basket in the hallway. When I first started leaving my phone on there, it was such a weird feeling, like FOMO, and I was like that feeling enough that it felt like FOMO was enough to me. Yeah, this is a beneficial thing for me to do because I'm clearly attached to it. The final question for today's show, Sophia, is what is the greatest bit of advice you've ever been given?
oh, I know exactly what this bit of advice is. So I was a financial advisor before I coached full time, which is weird to think of me as a financial advisor or professional in a suit. But yeah, that was my previous career. And I built up my coaching business on the side. And I was on the phone to one of my friends who is a really clever guy. And I was saying to him, I'll hand my notice in to my financial advisor job when me and my husband now have got married because we've got a lot of money to save up for the wedding. And he was like, well, you never know what's going to happen. Like, just do it now. Like, you've been coaching ages, you've got clients, you've got inquiries coming in. And I was just like, nah, I need financial security. And he was like, Sophia, I'm being 100% serious now. The only thing certain in life is that we're all going to die. And what we do up until that point is up to us, is up to you. And I was like, fuck. So I went home, I wrote my letter to resign so I could, because I was at the point where I had 20 clients, couldn't take on anymore unless I did quit my job. Um, and so I handed in my notice, started coaching full time, building things up. And then lo and behold, the wedding was arranged for like a year later. We went into lockdown. So had I been delaying, then the wedding was cancelled. So like in COVID, I would have been furloughed. I'd have had a guaranteed salary from my financial advisor job. And there's lots of people listening that would think, oh yeah, but that would be amazing. But having that time in lockdown to graft on my business, to build my community, took my business from just paying the bills to I need to hire coaches to work with me. Um, So that advice was some of the best advice I've ever received.
Unreal. What an amazing way to finish today's show. If people want to come find out more about you, Sophia, where can they come and find you?
Best place, probably Instagram, Sophia underscore Apollo underscore nutrition.
Carousels with the blue background, always worth a read, let me tell you that much. Thank you very much for joining us on today's show, Sophia. It's been amazing to have you here. If you have enjoyed today's show as the listener, please make sure you drop a like and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching here. And if you're listening on all of the apps, so Spotify and Apple Podcasts, make sure you drop a subscribe or follow to the show and drop us a 5-star review if you enjoyed today's show. It does go a long, long way to helping the algorithms. We'll see you here for an episode very soon. Take care.